The green light is on and we are underway for the final weekend of the FIA Formula 3 World Championship. Welcome to the circuit of Monza. It is the Temple of Speed. It's the final round of the championship and we already have our champions crowned. This place is awesome. It's around the Royal Park of Monza as well. It's a 3.599 mile circuit, 11 turns and 2 DRS zones. And believe me, it's a series of straights separated by just 2 chicanes. It's one of the greatest on the calendar, and we are honoured to have Formula 3 here. Lap record at 1:37.559 in the race. That's going to be interesting to beat. Soft tyre compound is the mandatory. Elevation change here is quite flat, which means it's a low downforce, high brake wear. Tyre usage is in a medium, high fuel consumption. Well, we're getting all set then, ready to go, as we've had a few issues up here in the commentary box with some data screens this morning. So let's head downstairs to the commentary team at the farm.
It's shown in every year, to be honest, but a lot of flat out running around here, 5.7 kilometres, at least 4.5 of which are done completely pedal to the metal.
Yep, it indeed is. Now, let's quickly tick off the fact that we are going to have a different qualifying format for this weekend. The drivers are going to be split into 2 groups. We will have 2 10-minute sessions, those decided by numbers. So they'll have 2 10-minute sessions, Group A and Group B, decided by their numbers, and that is how we will decide our qualifying order later on today. And there we can see Rafa Kamara, who tied up the championship here with a weekend to spare back at Hungary. And what an achievement it was by Kamara to wrap that one up. Fantastic for him. He can now go and enjoy this weekend and try and add to the records he's already been setting.
Yeah, he's got that championship last time out in exactly the fashion that he's been used to this year. Pole and a race win in the feature race. That pole position that he did at Hungary was outstanding, as we've seen so many times this year. And again, he could be well up there in qualifying today. Qualifying, as you mentioned, Chris, already slightly different to what we've had at most other events. It's a very similar qualifying format to Monaco. Monaco, very tight, very short circuit, so they split the qualifying to give everyone space so that they can find the lap. Here, the reason they split it is because in years gone by, the qualifying sessions have been chaotic, to say the least. Everyone trying to get a slipstream a toe because, as I mentioned a moment ago, because we're over 4 kilometres, 4.5 kilometres of flat-out truck running around this Monza circuit, the advantage you get from being behind another car is so worth it that all the drivers queue up and try and get themselves tucked under the rear wing of someone else, but that can cause some issues in jockeying for position.
Yeah. Well, we welcome also a new driver to the grid this weekend, son of Rubens Barrichello, who won his last Grand Prix here back in 2009 with Brawn. It is Fernando Barrichello who will make his debut in FIA Formula 3 this weekend. The young Brazilian driver, let's hear what he had to say ahead of his first race start in Formula 3.
To be honest, I think it's a big honor for me to carry that name. I have such a good relationship with my dad. We get along so well, but I think it's been a built relationship because it's tough. We do the same sport and he wants the best for me. And so I think sometimes he would sort of try to get some shortcuts for me in terms of just because he wants me to do well. But if he does everything for me, then I'm not learning, and I need, my dream is to get to F1, and I need to do that by myself because I need to get in the car. I think with the name comes a bit of undeserved attention as well. There's always the attention there, even if it's not deserving, and I understand that. And I think My dad can sometimes, with his name, open a bit of doors for me, but he can't keep them open. I need to keep them open for myself. So I think this is obviously a great opportunity. And once I got to the team and my name was on the halo, I sent him and my grandpa a picture saying how much of an honor it is to carry such a big name into something so big again. And we cried together. So it's been a true honor to be here.
I think very nice words there from Fernando Barrichello, who is, as he mentioned, carrying the name of his father, who has set such a legacy, but also he now wants to go and set his own legacy. Beers. I got to know Fernando's brother, Dudy Barrichello, quite well during his time in the junior formula, and that is what the drivers like Fernando in his position wants to go and do now, and this will just be the start of his journey before coming back to do this championship next season.
Yeah, and you heard in that interview there, for a 19-year-old, very, very mature, very wise beyond his years, clearly been brought up well, and the experience of Rubens and the rest of the family being passed on, and all he's got to do now is prove he can do it on circuit, because he's got everything else. You know, he's got an opportunity in Formula 3 now, and he's going to try and keep that door open, as he mentioned. He says, you know, sometimes the doors can be open, but ultimately he had to pave his own way. Running on board with Tim Tramnitz now, he's one of the drivers who's in that battle for second place in the Challenge. Currently sitting in 4th place, the Italian driver. He had a good run here last year, didn't he, Chris?
He did. He won the sprint race. Just confirming back to Fernando Barrichello, he has been confirmed for the season next year. He's already been announced with AIX, along with Yevon David, who will become the first Sri Lankan driver to compete in FIA Formula 3. So AIX confirming drivers very quickly. Well, there is Nicholas Solov, is going to be fighting for the podium spots in the championship. In terms of qualifying later, by the way, we'll quickly do a little bit of housekeeping. A ballot was held yesterday in the drivers' briefing to determine which groups would go out first, and it's the odd-numbered groups, Group A. And then the even numbers will be which we had last year. The quickest group will form the inside row of the grid, the slower the outside row of the grid. So the 6th slowest driver in the slower group, if you like, or the 6th quickest driver in the slower group will be the reverse grid for pole position for the sprint race. It'll all make sense when we get to qualifying later. It's going to be very exciting, that's for sure. It certainly was last year.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that the race direction team and the stewards have decided to go with a slightly shorter session, because even though 10 minutes doesn't sound like long, it gives a lot less time for drivers to go out on circuit, go slowly.
Exactly.
We saw 11 drivers penalised last year for going too slowly during the qualifying session. So we're doing everything we can to try and avoid that, because it's dangerous, unfortunately. The drivers were literally crawling between Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2, weren't they? And we don't want, you know, some drivers going at over 150, 160 miles an hour, and other drivers going at walking pace, because of course that you can, so for obvious reasons, understand why that isn't so good. But that should mean we have an interesting qualifying session. I like the way you put it last year, Chris. Basically, Group 1 effectively will set one side of the grid in the top 12, and Group 2 will set the other side of the grid in the top 12, and the fastest of those two groups will be the pole side. So looking forward to that, as we now have some drivers just opening themselves up, getting themselves dialed in on the carryover medium Pirelli tyres. They've got one set of those carried over from Hungary, just getting their eye in while the circuit is still a little bit damp, but I imagine times will start to tumble as maybe some drivers strap on some softs at the end of this session before we then head into qualifying, and those soft 3 of those, or the soft tyres they have, will be used for qualifying and for the races.
Home race for Brando Badoer. He has been with Prema Racing this season, the young McLaren junior. It's been a bit of an up and down season for him so far, but he'll be looking to try and end on a high here. We have seen him in the points throughout the season, and we caught up with young Brando about his season so far yesterday.
I think everything. Formula 3 is a very different championship from what I was used to in Formula Regional, Formula 4. It's really challenging, level is very high. So yeah, the experience I've done this year will be very, very important for the upcoming years. As you said, it's been a challenging one for me and the team, but recently we've had some solid rounds, scored some good points, so looking to continue on this trend for the future.
Well, I often hear people say, Piers, that Formula 3 is the toughest championship in single-seater racing. Brando Badoer, I think, is one of a few examples of that in this season. He was regular visitor to the podium in Freca last season, jumping up as really been fighting to get in the points this year. This is on board with Tramnitz.
Just wide into a Scarish game, pushing the limits. Circuit's still a little bit damp, so very much will be what the drivers and teams call green when there's not a huge amount of rubber that's been laid down, and they'll be drying out. No big issue for Tim Tramnitz there, pushing the limits early. That'll be just a note in his brain. Maybe there's a little bit less grip out there than he a little bit anticipated straight away. As we've already got a slight start of jockeying position that we may see at the start of each of the qualifying sessions.
At the front of that, we saw the 21. We should note that in the 21 this weekend is James Headley. He is taking over the car of Santiago Ramos, who's sadly not racing this weekend, and we really do wish the best for Santiago Ramos going forwards. He did put out that he wouldn't be taking part this weekend, was not able to compete, so that's a real shame, and all we can hope is that we see Santiago Ramos either racing in Formula 3 or another F1 support series going forward in the future. But going back, Piers, some drivers really feeling the full force, aren't they, of how competitive this Formula 3 championship is. We've seen some drivers come in and it's just been about trying to get in the points, but then we looked at some other rookies who are fighting to be the other top rookie behind Rafa Kamara, if you like. Noah Stromstead, Teofil Nel, Tuka Tappinen, Alessandro Giusti. They are between 6th and 9th. I think they'll all be very happy as rookie drivers to have come in and been in the top 10 in the championship and being on the podium this season.
I think they would all have felt pretty good about the year had it not been for rookie Rafa Kamara going out and absolutely walking the championship. But barring that, you know, clearly experience is important in this championship. Boya, Solov, Tramnitz, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and then Stenshorn in 5th place in the championship, all returning drivers. So clearly experience has value. But then you've got that group of rookies you mentioned, Stromstead, Niall, Tappinen and Giusti in 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th respectively. Solid seasons. They've got a choice to make after this race in Monza. You know what they're going to do next year, because you can come back and try and dominate the championship, or you can potentially move on to F2 or other things.
It's absolutely true. It's that time of the year where drivers begin to make that decision. Do you stay in F3 for another season, or do you jump up to F2? And no doubt there have been drivers on the phone over the course of the summer break to make that decision.
One of the first drivers this weekend to just pop through the tiny gravel trap at turn number 1. Just braking a bit late there, just James Wharton for ART. No damage done, and carries back on. We'll see that a fair few times this weekend, I think.
Well, Barrichello mentioned how emotional he was. Let's watch him round Monza in FIA Formula 3. He won here last season in Euro Formula Open. Now he's going to do it in FIA Formula 3. And that was a dress rehearsal to us calling him for a full lap.
Yeah, that's it's a big braking zone down towards turn 1 at Monza. Probably one of the biggest of the year, from one of the highest speeds to one of the slowest corners. And unfortunately, a bit late there for Fernando Barrichello. He will just roll around, get his tyres prepped and try and go another time. It'll take him at least this session to get up to speed, even though he's raced in single-seaters and junior Formula that you know, get on the way to Formula 3. Actually learning how the Formula 3 car works and getting the most out of it is no mean feat. And we've not seen many drivers jump in and do exceptionally well this year so far. Quite wisely actually choosing to just take to the runoff and go through the polystyrene bollards rather than lock up and ruin that set of tyres.
Yeah, that's a wise decision. So it goes through and we'll continue on for another lap. We are seeing track limit deletions come in quite quickly. Well, here he is, our champion. What a story it has been for Rafa Kamara. The only other driver, if we go back to the GP3 era, Piers, the only other driver to wrap up a championship with a weekend to spare along with George Russell back in 2017. It's the third consecutive title for Trident. Joins Oscar Piastri and Gabriel Bortoleto as champions in a rookie season. And the second driver to win is a Ferrari Driver Academy member, along with Rob Schwartzman as well. So I think that last one, quite key as well. Ferrari will be very impressed with what they've seen. He was celebrating with Charles Leclerc, who was quick to congratulate him after. We mentioned about what's going to happen next. No doubt Ferrari will already be thinking about what they're going to be doing with Rafa Kamara going forward.
Well, they're going to have to if he continues to perform in Formula 2 next year, which is where we assume he will go. They're going to have a problem because they're going to need to put him somewhere, and they've already got a full roster of drivers in Formula 1.
Well, for those of you who didn't join us on the Instagram live we did with Rafa Kamara a few days after he wrapped up the title, he told us that pretty much that's where he is going, and that's no surprise, really. So his plans immediately are to go, and as a champion, he cannot come back to the series. But I think he's already, Ferrari will be thinking a few years down the line now. Tim Tramnitz, well, he's had a solid season overall as Tim Tramnitz makes his way down the down towards Parabolica now, looking to try and help MP get a first ever championship podium, and that would be quite the result for the team.
No doubt. Tramnitz, I think, would have been hoping to fight for the overall title this year. Had a pretty strong year last year, coming back again this year. Had good results up there, and that is Roman Belinsky, I think.
It is.
Yeah, and he'd just gone purple and green, Sector 1 and Sector 2. So this is, I think, where is this? Down at the last corner, potentially? But yeah, not an ideal start to the weekend for Roman Belinsky, who is a driver, actually, that, not exactly perfect timing, but we were going to come on to and talk about the fact that he's had a very strong year. Yeah,
well, let's talk Rodin while we're on that. So currently on for their best teams championship results. Their previous was P6. Well, they're currently 6th. Their previous best was 7th in 2022. Roman Belinsky could get them their first top 10 finish in the Drivers' Championship. He's currently just a few points off, but this is not the start he would have wanted. He's gone off at Ascari.
Yeah, Roman Belinsky looks like he's just had a bit of a wobble through Ascari chicane, which is quite a tricky section of corners, fairly medium speed, low downforce settings here in the Monza to try and maximise straight line speed. Let's watch him through Ascari. Just a bit too much curb on the middle, the right-hand apex of Ascari. Circuit still pretty green, losing the rear, and a fairly innocuous but costly entry into the gravel and the barriers. That'll be some work for the Rodin team to do. It doesn't look like it was an absolutely gigantic shunt, so he should be okay to be out qualifying, although he'll have less laps under his belt than most of the other drivers when we do eventually get to that qualifying session later on.
That's a real shame for Roman Belinsky, and he will lose very valuable track time. I just missed the apex there slightly, didn't he, on the left, it seems, and that's where it went wrong for Roman Belinsky.
Yeah, and you can see he took a bit more curb on the right-hand side there than he potentially would have wanted to do. And those curbs reprofiled last year when much of the circuit was resurfaced. And those curbs, they're serrated curbs. I don't know, I think it's like negative Vallelunga or whatever they call them, curbs. But basically, the more you take, the more aggressive they are, and you end up with less tyre contact with the road. And unfortunately, when the car was fully loaded, medium tyres, low downforce, low track temperature, bit of dampness maybe even in the curbs still, bit of gravel thrown up from when Tim Tramnitz went wide, all the factors combined to help Roman Belinsky into the barriers. He's physically okay, great to see. But he has had a really strong year, considering he is a rookie with a team Rodin who've not had the most success at this level in years gone by.
This is definitely their best season as a team that are pushing forward at this level. Another one that are good timing is Van Amersfoort Racing. They celebrate 50 years and they are on for their best ever finish in the Teams Championship. We see that orange and black livery roll in. They're currently P5, and this would be their best finish if they can stay in that top 5. And they're in a fight for the last spot on the podium in terms of the Teams Championship as well. Teirfield Nile could give them their best results in terms of the Drivers' Championship as well. Their previous best being 9th, he's currently 7th, and he leads the way in terms of this practice session. We'll cover more of that in just a sec, but let's hear first from the Aston Martin Junior, Murray Boy. We'll come back to Murray Boy in just a second. Let's go back to the order. Théophile Nile leading, was commentating last weekend, Piers, for F1 Kids in France for the broadcaster over there. So went behind the microphone, believe it or not.
I bet he found the...
He's after your job, mate.
He's got something against me as well, because he speaks English and French, and I only speak English.
Exactly, there we go.
I'm petit peu.
There we go. Yeah, Théophile Nile, 7th. I think he's had a very strong season and went well here last year in Freca, took a win. I think overall 7th place. If he can go and get Van Amersfoort's best ever result, that would be good. Charlie Vert seems to be getting better and better, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah,
second there.
Keeping my fingers crossed that now keeps up this good form so that I can stay in this season.
The invite's already in the post. The invite's already in the post. Okay, I think Murray Boy is ready, shall we? A nervous Piers Pyatt next to me. Let's go and hear from Murray Boy.
Well, first of all, for sure, Rafa did an amazing job, especially as a rookie. He made the difference at the beginning of the year, where normally we thought as experienced driver to make the difference, but was not the case. Still, just congratulate him, the job he did for sure. And now we focus on ourselves. I just try to enjoy all the time on track, and I feel now it's paying off, let's say. All the rounds are looking really well. I just enjoy, and results are coming. So looking forward for the same approach here in Monza, and hopefully it will work again.
Murray Boy, second half of the season's gone so well for him, hasn't it? Jumped up to second in the championship in a season that had to go well for him. Third season, bit of a risk coming back in a way, but he's really delivered. Since putting on that Aston Martin t-shirt, he seems to have just grown so much confidence.
Really has. Tough start to the year. Didn't score in the first 3 races, then a retirement in Imola. But then, as you mentioned, got that signed deal with Aston Martin Academy or Junior Program, however they want to refer to themselves, and then has had probably one of the strongest second halves of the year, bar our championship winner, really. He's been clearly one of the highest scoring drivers, now sitting second, and fighting with his teammate Solov. And you mentioned it, you referenced it there. It's coming back for a 3rd year. It really is like a make or break, because you do a solid second. I think it was 17th, wasn't he, in his first year, and then 13th in his second. It's like, if you're 13th, if you come back your 3rd year and then you don't perform, that's maybe even your single seat to dream over, because realistically you've had 3 opportunities to show it. But this year, using the experience, much as Solov, they're clearly working well with the team as well, because they're 2nd and 3rd in the championship and helping Campos have one of the best years they've ever had in Formula 3.
Yeah, they could win the team championship for the very first time, which would be quite the achievement. And they've never had a championship podium. Their best result is 5th with Pepe Marti, so it'd be quite the achievement. And he puts Spain on the championship podium for the first time. And I hear he's the best paddle player in the paddock. That comes directly from James Wharton.
Oh, from what I was about to say, did Murray Boyer say this?
No, James Wharton says it. James Wharton says it. So apparently he could turn professional. So there we go. Meanwhile, let's go from one Campos driver to another and hear from Nicolas Solov.
Yeah, they've been long and hard. Honestly, I've never struggled so much in my career. I've been always fighting at the top, and then as soon as I got in F3, I hit reality, and I just needed a lot more laps and a lot more experience in different situations. So stayed longer than what we planned, but maybe it was for good, because in the end I'm still 18, I'm still young. So now with a lot more experience, I think heading into the next steps should be looking a lot better for me and should adapt quicker. But then, yeah, it was long and hard, but I'm thankful for these 3 years, and hopefully we wrap it up pretty nicely.
Final question. What is this new hair?
Well, just something to try, right? Yeah.
You rock it. You rock it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck for the weekend.
Appreciate it.
Fan of that? I mean, that was the first thing we mentioned when we saw Nicolas Solov's new hair. There we go.
I mean, if it makes him feel confident, then that's all that matters, really.
He's a confident man, isn't he? And I've got to say, he's dealt with the pressure. And there is pressure, being a Red Bull Junior, very well. He's currently on to be the first Red Bull Junior on the championship podium since 2021, and that's quite an achievement. He's a confident character. He was just 16 when he came into Formula 3. He mentioned his age there. People would almost be surprised at that, given he's a third-year driver. But he won that Spanish F4 championship, breaking so many records. Didn't quite go well for him immediately in F3, but now he's stuck with it, and he's starting to pay off for him.
Do you know what? It's interesting how the psychology of when you move on, when you don't, occurs, because generally drivers who go on to Formula 1 and do great things, they do, 1 year in F3, win it, 1 year in F2, win it. We've seen it with Leclerc, we've seen it with Piastri, we've seen it with George Russell. Who knows about Rafa Kamara? Who knows about recently, of course, Fornaroli as well. But you forget sometimes these drivers, if they join F3 so early, their third year might be the equivalent of someone else's fourth or fifth. I mean, Kamara, isn't he 20 years old, our championship winner? So even though it's a rookie in the championship, he's a bit older than others. Yeah, he is 20, so he's still 2 years older than Solov, who's his championship rival, even though Solov's a third-year driver. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not all just about number of years in the championship. It's also about age, experience, maturity. As you see another shot there at full speed of Belinsky's accident. The gravel doing a good job at sort of gently bringing him to a stop. That actually was, I think it was aided by the fact there was loads of gravel in the middle of a Ascari corner. That would be something to look out for in qualifying, Chris. If someone goes wide there, the drivers will have to be aware of that.
45 seconds to the restart, so let's go through the order then. Teofil Nau is leading from Wirtz, from Leon, from Giusti. Ugachuku, good to see some of the Premers up there. They'll be looking to try and end on a high here. Roman Belinsky watches his car being recovered. And a lot of fans out for the F3 drivers yesterday, including Roman Belinsky. The Tifosi out in force.
David Dicker there, the head of Rodin, both cars and the motorsport team. He's the man behind a lot of the team's success, puts a lot of effort and also funding into the team, and has allowed them to have one of the best years they've had so far in FIA Formula 3.
It certainly has been, and they're not going badly in F2 either. Prema, they'll be looking to end strong here. 2 cars up there, Stromstead, James Headley settling in nicely to Van Amersfoort. We saw him in the points at Hungary last time with a best 4th place. He's only done a few rounds. And then we've got Ivan Dominguez, Brando Badoer. Now, of course, top 12 get reversed when it comes to qualifying. And the top 12 currently rounding out by Del Pino and Tramnitz. But remember, qualifying will split them into 2 groups. The odd-numbered cars will be in Group A, which will take to the track first for 10 minutes. Then Group B will be the even numbers, and that will go after. And that was determined by a ballot in driver's briefing yesterday. 16 minutes and 20 seconds, Piers.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if anyone will put any soft tyres on at the end of this session. I think it's unlikely. You can see the yellow-walled medium tyres. They're the carryover tyres from Hungary that most of the drivers have used. Well, in fact, all the drivers have used so far in this session. The soft tyres are faster, especially fastest on their first flying lap. As the green flag goes out, it's going to be almost like a mock qualifying session as everyone goes out nose to tail. But if someone goes out on soft tyres, they might have a mild advantage going into qualifying, knowing how that tyre is going to perform. But some teams may choose not to use it because also the circuit will be so different between now and then that maybe that would be a sort of almost a false advantage.
Now, James Headley is going to be investigated for a red flag infringement. Now, we'll see. You're not allowed to overtake, is what I will say when the red flag comes out. We did have that is one thing you're not allowed to do, and sometimes leads to these investigations, but we won't speculate. All we'll say is he will be investigated for something after the session, so we'll keep an eye on the socials and the website, and if there are any updates we can bring you during qualifying, of course we'll bring you, but let's hope that investigation leads to nothing further. Okay, Teofil now, quickest so far. As I said, he ended his Frecker campaign very well here last year. He'll be looking to do similar things here this year.
Yeah, very much so, and he's looking to get a move on at the start of this session, overtaking drivers to the Curva Grande towards the De La Roggia chicane. wants to get some clear air, wants to get a good feeling of the circuit, wants to understand how it's evolving throughout the session, and we'll use that information to understand how it's going to evolve into the rest of the weekend. As we see the Campos duo there of Tazanopol Intrapuvazak, who will also play a role in the team's battle. He's right behind Mari Boyer, who we heard from a moment ago. One of the reasons that Campos have been so good this year is they've had such consistency. Yeah. They've had podiums in every single event. I think apart from the first event of the year, was it Silverstone off the top of my head? I think that where they had to fourths. So, you know, every round they've had a top 4 of some kind, and then also they've scored in almost every race as well. I mean, it helps that both Boyer and Solov are 2nd and 3rd in the championship. But also, Intrapuvazak's had a part to play as well. He's had 2 sprint victories, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, yeah. That's been really good for him. He won at Silverstone, where they took the clean sweep, and then he won at Hungary. So he became the first Thai driver to win. It's been quite the season for Campos. All 3 drivers have played their part, Nikola Solov included in that, and he's going to come across the line now to pick up a toe, and they get ready to go.
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't Silverstone, it was Spa. They
Spa, that was it, correct.
But they may have done if the race had gone ahead, who knows.
Yeah.
Right on board now with Solov, that Campos driver who's battling 2nd place. There's really not a lot of grip out on circuit at the moment. You could see Solov fighting with the rear of the car, just, you know, shuffling the wheel in his hand on the exit of the first chicane, the Reftafilo chicane, as he tried to pick up the power. We go flat out to Curva Grande, now down towards the Rogier chicane. Another big braking zone. Picking your braking point, so important around here. You see the understeers at the middle of the corner there. The circuit will ramp up, I think, a lot this weekend from this session into qualifying and then into the races as the Pirelli rubber goes down from FIA Formula 3, Formula 2, then Formula 1. We also got Porsche Super Cup as well, so there's going to be a lot of rubber going down, scheduled to be dry most of this weekend as far as I'm aware. So this dampness on circuit, I think, was only from a little sprinkle last night. But we now go towards probably the most technical section of this circuit. I think the Ascara chicane, medium speed. Some drivers use the curve of the apex, some don't. Then this is the part where we saw Belinsky run wide, flat out through the left-hand flick as we now head down towards the final corner of the circuit. 2 DRS zones around Monza this weekend. One down the start and finish straight, the second of which is actually towards that Ascari chicane where we saw a fair few moves both inside and outside last year. It was a big snap of oversteer through the newly renamed Alboreto corner at the last corner here, formerly the Parabolica.
Yeah, through now Parabolica down the start finish straight. Solov up to the line, P5. I think some are coming in for that tyre change onto the soft compound, which we're going to use for this weekend. Across the line we go. Mari Boyer looks like he's going to improve. Does not do a big improvement. Sanapol Intrapuvazak does, though. Right, our champion, Rafa Kamara, is going quickly. Here he is, coming through the final corner now and making his way up towards the start-finish line. He is the record holder. 5 pole positions to his name, and he's just gone 3/10 quicker than the rest of the field. He is becoming almost unbeatable when it comes to 1 lap pace at times this season. Brando Badoer, one of the few Italian drivers out this weekend. Are we going to get a home hero? We've been close to a home winner in FIA Formula 3. That was very close with Leo Fornaroli here last year. Not quite a home winner, though. Brando Badoer will be hoping to try and change that this weekend. Into Parabolica he comes in this practice session. And what a way it would be for him to end his season. He's going to come into pit lane now, but the Tifosi will be cheering them on. And they were treated pit. Oh no, Leon. Lesmo 2 has spun. That's in a dangerous place as well, isn't it? Double yellows immediately out.
Yeah, let's have a look and see what happened here. There's a lot of gravel on the circuit, so he's probably just dropped a wheel on the gravel. He's going to have to do a very clunky 3-point turn now. This is going to be really hard for him because you literally cannot look 90 degrees to the right or the left in these cars. Your head is very much cocooned in the head protection area. He's going to have to just reverse slowly onto the racing line. Good job there.
Martinius Stenshorn, I think that is.
Good heads-up driving.
Yeah.
Wow.
There would have been communication, I'm sure, to Noel Leon to tell him when it was safe to do that, but good work by all involved. Rene Rosin watching on from the pit wall. Let's find out what happened to Mexican driver Noel Leon.
She's following. Is that Solov?
Yeah.
Got a bit loose. Carried a bit too much speed through the apex, and then as soon as he was on the gravel, there's so much less grip. Look at that.
Bruno Del Pino.
Just about staying out of the way there. A good driving from Del Pino. And you can actually see at the front end of the floor there of Leon's car, a bit of damage, so that can show you if you go through the gravel, you can actually end up with some floor damage. Boyer doing well to avoid it, getting pebble dashed there with all the gravel on the being thrown onto the circuit. Coming in, there's a flapping bit underneath the left-hand side of the floor there. That'll be something the drivers won't want to do in qualifying. I mean, one, because we've seen Leon go round and you can't take a quick lap, but two, if you do that, for example, on your first flying lap and you're going to go for a second one, you might actually end up with slightly less downforce, end up with dirt on your tyres. And also the next few laps for all the drivers, they'll have to be mindful that there is a bit of gravel on the exit of that corner, which we've seen already catch out Belinsky.
Yeah, the soft tyres are now going on, so the lap times will come down. Good driving by Noel Leon to get the car back, because he's now given himself, as long as there's no significant damage, which didn't look like there was, he's given himself a chance here to have a go on these soft tyres, and well done, Bruno Del Pino. Great evasive action as Stenshorn is on a flying lap. We'll see if he takes this one round or brings it in, because it looks like this is the time now for everyone to start making the switch over if they haven't already. Just tell us, Piers, we're using carryover tyres at the moment.
Yeah, so slick tyres, you have one set of mediums, or each of the drivers has one set of medium tyres, which is carried over from the Hungaroring, the last event, and then 3 sets of the softer Pirelli tyres. Those will be faster over a single lap. They will be the ones they have to use in qualifying in the races, as we ride and ball with Martinez Stenshorn through Parabolica, purple in the middle sector. So clearly these tyres doing okay, the medium tyres doing okay on their second or third flying lap, but the soft tyres generally will be weak quickest in their first flying lap. Stenshorn goes quicker, so circuit's ramping up, because in theory this tyre will be slower now than it was earlier in the session, but with all these 30 Formula 3 cars going round and drying the circuit out and putting rubber down, it'll get quicker. Interesting though, this weekend, you can see the red sidewalls there, the soft tyres going on Brando Badoer. Because of the change to qualifying, in terms of the 10-minute sessions, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
2 times 10-minute sessions split up. That's only enough time to do one flying lap, really, once you've had a bit of jockeying for position, figured it out, or one run, should we say.
Yeah.
Often in qualifying, the drivers have opportunity for 2 runs, which then uses 2 of their 3 sets of soft tyres. Whereas if you're only using 1, you've still got a brand new set for sprint, and then you've got a brand new set for the feature race. So a lot of the teams may choose to put the first set of soft tyres on in this session to get an idea of how the car's going to feel, so they can make a more fine-tuned setup for qualifying in the sprint race, and then just deal with the fact that in the sprint, for example, they'll have a tyre that's done 2 or 3 more flying laps, but you'd rather start a race from 10 positions higher with a 3-lap old tyre than have to make up those positions with a brand new tyre like everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we've just seen come up that Théophile Nard will be investigated after the session, so along with James Headley. And just to clear up as well, those are possible penalties, but one confirmed one for the last round is that Gerard G will be given a 5-place grid drop for the sprint race as well. That for his collision, Piers, with Ugo Ugochukwu at the last round. Came up the hill at Hungaroring through the left-hander into the right, made a collision with Ugo, and he will take a 5-place grid drop for that.
And speaking of Ugo, he's one of the first drivers to get a warning for track limits. As we can see, a queue of cars leaving the pits. That's a lot of Dalaras in one train there. Number 4 of Noah Stroms. Sorry, that's number 7 of Van Hoopen, just getting in the way a little bit there.
Yeah, now this is the queue forming, isn't it, when we get round to the end, and this is why we have 2 groups almost. There we can see the situation in terms of the standings. We're expecting pretty much a head-to-head in terms of second and third between Boyer and Solov, but Tramnitz in the 17 can play his part. Stenshorn with a good result can play his part, and Stromstead needs 2 good results really. Théophile Nard would need an absolute perfect score to play any kind of part, but and that includes qualifying. but we expect those are going to be the drivers fighting for those last 2 spots on the championship podium. And we look back at the championship podium for Formula 3, Piers, all drivers that have gone on to do great things, including the likes of Formula 1 as well. So getting on that championship podium would mean a lot to all those drivers.
No doubt. The championship overall is gone because Kamara has taken that with a round to go. But there's still a lot of pride, and it's also good practice for these drivers in with a shout of second place to try and push for that, because they can almost view it like a championship, because being able to push when the pressure's on, being able to make the decisive moves in the final race of the year when points are on the table, is a skill that the drivers can only hone effectively once a year, right? So even though they haven't got the overall championship, they might be pushing and using that and trying to gain some experience for then use either in F3 next year for those drivers who are rookies, or for Formula 2 or championships in the future as they move up their categories.
Now, Lecorte in the pink Alpine livery has a lockup into Rettifilo. Oh, goes over the curb and into the gravel.
Yeah, just about keeps it rolling. He did well to just keep his foot in there, just keep a bit of momentum, because the gravel traps can really slow you down and suck you in if you're not carrying some momentum. But no real harm done apart from losing that lap time there for Nicola Lecorte.
Stenchon's on an out lap now, so this is it. Everyone's coming out. Looks like another warm-up lap here before we're going for a push lap, possibly. Not Tramnitz, though. I think he is on a flying lap.
Still on the medium tyres, though. You see the yellow sidewalls there.
Correct.
So he's pushing on. Maybe his teammates have gone out on the softs and they are sacrificing to have a look, or maybe it may well have been that the MP decided they're going to save their soft tyres for qualifying in the races, one set for each of those sessions. But Tramnitz, you can see him hustling through the Lesmos, the car floating around. MP have been the strongest team of that. It's that second group. They're currently third in the championships. They've had good pace at points this year. They've taken podiums and wins, and Tramnitz will be looking to finish the season strong. He's well in with a chance of taking that second position. He needs a pretty strong weekend, currently sitting 15 points behind Mari Boyer, who's in second, but he's still within a shout.
Yeah, their last pole position was Monza 2022. What a result it would be if they could return to the front of the grid for the first time in 3 seasons. Wow, a little bit wide there though, a Parabolica, and Tim Tramnitz is just sacrificing that soft tyre run, isn't he, to help himself a little bit later. But we're going to see the sector times tumble this time around as Tim Tramnitz moves out the way for the oncoming queue.
And let's not forget, Tramnitz took a win last year, didn't he, at this event in the sprint race, wasn't it?
Yes,
if I remember rightly. So he's coming into a circuit that he knows well, he's got confidence at. He'll be looking to try and do at least as well as he did here last year, because that will put him in a good position for that second place in the championship.
Okay, well, Tim Tramnitz, his session is effectively done, but behind, let's watch the times come down now. We've got a black and white flag for James Wharton, but let's go on board with Nicola Solov. This now at full speed, Piers, on soft tyres.
Soft tyre run here for our second place hopeful Nicola Solov for Campos. He's fighting with his teammate Mari Boyer, as we've discussed in this session, but you'll see, I think, visually how much more grip Solov will be having through the Ascari chicane. The soft tyres just allowing that much extra grip and confidence. They'll slide around a little less. Purple in sector 2, so he's on for potentially one of the fastest laps we've seen so far, so early on the throttle compared to the medium tyre through Ascari, completely flat out. It looks actually quite stable through there, so he'll be logging that in his mind, thinking I can carry more speed next time I'm out on circuit, and the next time they'll be doing flying laps, it will be in qualifying later on today. Sector 1 purple is Teofil Nile now, is pushing harder, and Parabolica is Solov just pushing on. They shorten the line on the exit of Parabolica. They come back to the right-hand side just to drive less distance, and you can see how much difference that makes with that soft tyre. Solov now fastest by nearly 4 tenths ahead of Stenchon. Badoer goes up to 3rd, Dominguez up to 5th. Lots of times falling. Callum Voisin now has the fastest middle sector.
Yeah, and Noel Leon has gone to P2. Ugochukwu in the all-black livery now to P2. So the times are going to keep coming down. Callum Voisin could do with a good end to his season. He is making his way up to the line very shortly. Here he comes in the white and black livery, and he's gone fastest. Overall, 138.721. Rodin on for their best season as a team, and that will give them lots of confidence. What can Mari Boyer do? Up to the line he comes. He's currently dead last in practice, but now he's P7 I think he'll take that as a start.
Absolutely, very close at the front of the field, and we're taking some pretty quick times. Zagazetta's got a perfect middle sector for Dams. Zagazetta up to 4th place. Great lap from him, and it'd be good to see Dams up at the front of the field. Their first full season in FIA Formula 3. They'll be looking to end on a high, but pretty quick times actually. A 38.7 considering the track is so green. 38.2 was the fastest lap we saw in pole last year from Leonardo Fornaroli. I reckon that we could be challenging that later on, but you saw as Voicing came over the line, a nice little toe is sort of actually improving once again.
Yes, second laps are quicker still. Van Hoopen is now going quickest through the first sector, so look how close it is though. Half a second between 18 drivers, and we are seeing further improvements. We've got less than a tenth between the top 3. Gives you a reason to tune in for qualifying later if you didn't have one already. Solov goes quicker over the line. Badaware into the top 12 pits.
Yeah, good luck from Badaware. Be good to see Prema have a strong end to the years. They're happy hunting ground for them, but this year has been so tough for them. Leon goes second, so he's had consistently good pace in this one. Ugochukwu, fast in the final sector, goes top. So that's Prema 1, 3 and 12 at the moment, so that's not a bad session for them at all. They'll be very happy if it ends up like that after qualifying as the 26th round. That is Fernando Barrichello doing a very similar thing that we saw Leon do just a few minutes ago.
Well, that's a shame. He didn't quite get the chance to do his second flying lap. I think this was on his second flying lap. Let's find out what happened.
Oh, bit of a wobble to the middle of Lesmo too, which is what caused him to go wide, and then once you're on the gravel, you're effectively a passenger because it's so bumpy. The gravel getting rutted there from when we saw Leon and other drivers running wide, bringing a fair amount of gravel back on the circuit. I think the brooms of the marshals in the Monza park are going to get a fair amount of work, and they might need a tyre change at some point.
Yes, I think so. Barrichello, it's not been the session he would have hoped for, but qualifying coming up later. But how about that for Ugochukwu, the McLaren Junior goes fastest overall, and that would be quite the result for him. He's getting good podium finishes for Prema Racing this season, has been slowly working his way up that championship order, and he's got a chance to climb a good few places with a good result this weekend. Solov second, Leon third, and Voisin, Niall, and Zagazeta P6. You mentioned Dams Lucas Oil, first season. They've been in the points 5 times. If they could get up there in the top 12, that'd be a great result for them.
Absolutely. But I think this session has shown how quickly the circuit is ramping up, because we saw Kamara go top by nearly 2.5 tenths on that first flying lap. Was that on the first flying lap of the soft tyres, or was that the mediums? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the mediums. But
but then now he's down in 18th position. I don't think he'll be worried, because he knows he was quick compared to the other drivers on the same tyre at that point of the session. Didn't maybe get exactly the lap he wanted at the end, but when the soft tyres came out, the times tumbled.
We are seeing track limits as well on the exit of Rogia. We saw some times deleted there. Murray Boyer got done. It also shows, I think, you can get 2 flying laps, can't you? So if you don't get across the line a second time, which Zagazeta didn't, he was in danger of dropping down the field there. So I think 2 flying laps is key. That's another one.
It's not particularly hard on tyres around here at the Monza, because you're going flat out in a straight line for so much of the circuit, and there's only 2 or 3 medium speed corners. Not a huge amount of energy and not a huge amount of overheating for the Pirelli tyres, which is what normally kills them. Especially you combine that with the track temperature of only 28 degrees. Air temperature is going to be in the mid to high 20s by the looks of it. It means that you can probably squeeze out a second lap on the tyres. So we'll see that, I imagine, in qualifying. A couple of warm-up laps, and then either a fast, cool, fast, or 2 fast laps in a row, depending on track position. And track position is going to be key. Speaking to a few of the drivers and teams ahead of this weekend, they reckon the toe is going to be worth somewhere between half a second and 8 tenths. When you can consider the difference between a good lap and a great lap is probably 3 tenths. You'd rather have a half-decent lap with a mega toe than get your own space and absolutely nail the lap to only gain 3 tenths when you could have been tucked up behind someone else and gain half a second.
I'd say so. Well, Prema in the unusual position of yet to get a race win, and they can change that this weekend with on home soil as well. They haven't actually had a home win for quite a while now, since Mugello back in 2020, I believe it was. So a good result here would be a really great thing for them as the team makes its way now back towards the support paddock. Ugo Ugochukwu first place in that one, Solov second, Leon third. Final assessments, Piers. I mean, we've got most of the championship contenders for second up there. A few outliers because we didn't get the second lap in, but overall it looks like it's going to be very close. In of course a different qualifying format later.
I don't think there's a huge amount we can take from this practice session in terms of form going into qualifying, because you mentioned some drivers didn't put the softs on, some drivers didn't get the second lap. But I think one thing we can say is it's going to be tight, always is in Formula 3, and especially on a circuit with only 11 corners at like Monza, it's going to bring the field close together.
It will. Remember, different quali format, 2 groups, 10 minutes each. Make sure you join us for that. Let's confirm result first. Ugo Ugochukwu for Prema Racing in their home race, fastest in practice. Nicholas Solov second, Noel Leon third, then Voisin, Niall Zagazeta in Chapuvazak, Boyer fighting for second in the championship with Solov in 8th. Stromstead was 9th. Louis Sharp was P10. We'll be happy to try and get a good finish to his season. That's what they're all searching for now. The championship's been won. Van Hoopen next, and Badoer in his home race. Tapperden, Nikita Johnson back for another race. 14th, Stenchorn, G, Ho, Kamara, Dominguez, and Giusti. G will take a 5th-place grid job for the sprint race, but that's a good start to the weekend for him in practice.
Yeah, well, thanks to the team for that one. It was a bit of a weird weekend here, but we'll get it all sorted eventually. Thanks to the team. We'll see you later on. Take care. Bye-bye.